Welcome to the Modern Sales Mastery Show. I'm Mario Martinez Jr., your host for today, and I'm excited to be with you. Let's not delay. Let's get this party started. What we're going to be talking about today on the Modern Sales Mastery Show with myself, Kurt Shaver, and Viveka Von Rosen are 6 phases to selling with LinkedIn. Now, what we're going to show you today is information that will help you that you can execute on right now, right away, inside of your sales efforts. Along with, if you're a sales leader, these are things that you can take back to your sales team and start implementing. However, there's a lot more to this than just these individual elements. And that's what we have our entire training program for as well. So 6 phases to selling with LinkedIn. Let's get started. We talked about the first step in transforming into a modern seller is adjusting our mindset. Now, I don't have to tell you twice whether or not we should be engaged on a digital forum to engage with today's buyer. You know it, I know it, and so does every other seller in the world. But is it the right one for you? Well, that's the first thing that you've got to be thinking about. Today's modern buyer is totally digitally connected, socially engaged, mobile attached, and video hungry. Sound familiar? All right. Now, the next step that we go into is step number 2, and that is all around the branding component. Learning to establish your personal and professional presence online from a social perspective, taking your profile and going from a resume to a resource. Couple things we want to talk about today. I'll showcase to you some elements that you can take away and understand how to develop your brand. This is a hard one for most sellers and most sales leaders because we're not writers. But don't worry, we have the ability to help you out from a Vengreso standpoint by helping you create your own profiles, or you can go through the entire training curriculum, the Selling with LinkedIn curriculum, and that'll give you an opportunity to be able to learn how to write it yourself. But this is critical because the last thing that you want to do is lose your buyer on the first click into your profile because you engage with them and they come and they see quota crushing sales rep or all-time President's Club earner. That's correct. So you want to make sure that we're adjusting the brand to speak to who you help, how you help, and what business problem you solve. And then after that, and only then, can you now go into finding and engaging with your buyers. That includes learning how to create a social conversation, to engage with them the right way, to form what the next step is, a connection. And these are very specific steps that you must go through to learn how to sell on LinkedIn and with LinkedIn. In addition to the connection phase, it's not just connecting with the buyer, but your goal is to be a master connector, which converts into a conversation. We call it the C2C, connection to conversation. So make sure that when you're connecting with buyers, that you are learning how to convert them into an actual sales conversation, not pitching your products or services. And we'll touch on that later on today. Finally, the 5th step is, in addition to, the 5th step is learn how to feed or nurture your network with regular content, whether it's one-to-one or one-to-many. Look, the reality is that we've entered a new phase of selling, remote selling. And with that in mind, we are not salespeople anymore. We are smarketers. That's right. We're smarketers. And as a direct result of being smarketers, sales and marketers, we need to understand how to leverage our audience, our connections to drive valuable insights into that network and use content on a one-to-one basis. And finally, the sixth step to transforming is once you know how to brand yourself, find and engage, how to connect and convert to a conversation, how to bring value through valuable content by feeding your network, now you're going to move into the cadence. What do you do daily, weekly, or monthly in terms of activities that are actually going to drive more sales conversations? So let me take you through each one of these elements. And what I'm going to show you are individual components of each one of these now that make up a collective whole. And this includes from our own Selling with LinkedIn training program. It's an 8-hour training course. So let's move on into your brand. 3 reasons why your digital footprint matters, specifically your LinkedIn profile and your brand. Number 1, it represents your brand. It is your digital footprint. What I want you doing right now is Google yourself. Take the time to Google yourself. What do you find? Now, 5 years ago, when I started this process, when I Googled Mario Martinez Jr., boy, did I find a lot of interesting information that was out there. I didn't show up until page number 5, 6, and 7, where I started to actually be found at. What was pulling up? It was a lot of other people named Mario Martinez Jr. on the web that, frankly, I didn't want to be found first. So I started on this process to rebrand myself, to leverage digital channels like LinkedIn, like Twitter, like Instagram, and took these channels and began sharing content. As I shared content, guess what, people? I ended up on now page number 1, not just for Mario Martinez Jr., but now for Mario Martinez, which is an extremely common Latin name. Now I'm on page number 1 for Mario Martinez as well, as a result of really investing into my personal brand. Why is that important? Well, when a buyer is engaging with you, they may do research. And what do you want showing up about yourself? So afterwards, Google your name. What does your name showcase for your particular brand? And now what you see is some really awesome things that are pulling up. Our website, as an example, and you also see the LinkedIn profile and the Twitter profile. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is very important for you to understand. In addition to our Vengreso website, the next thing on the page is my LinkedIn profile and my Twitter profile. So some may ask, okay, how powerful is a LinkedIn profile for your branding? How powerful is a Twitter profile for your branding? Pretty darn powerful when you actually see the first 3 results being the website, LinkedIn, and Twitter over everything else. Extremely powerful. So make sure you understand the power that you have on a free platform like LinkedIn and Twitter that allows you to be found by your target buyers. And in addition to that, you can see also video content of mine. This is thought leadership video content. These are the types of things that I want buyers finding when they Google my name. Reason number 2, this is a place where your customers, and if you're a leader, your talent comes to shop you. So I want you thinking about your profile should speak to A, who you help, B, what business problem you can help solve, C, who else you've done it for. Listing out client testimonials and or clients that you've worked with is critical so that customers are able to see who you have done this for, whatever it might be, the product, the service, the technology. And finally, I want to make sure you understand this point. When you're rewriting and redoing your messaging on your profile, guess what? Your buyers don't give a hoot about how amazing of a sales leader or a rep you are. They don't care how many times you've been to Sales President's Club. They don't care if you're an all-star, rock star, top contract negotiator. They don't care about those things. So if your profile is displaying best contract negotiator, all-time President's Club earner, if it's displaying that type of information as a resume to help you find a job, you are losing your buyers on the first click into your profile. So please, please, please make sure when you rewrite your profile, it speaks to who you help, what business problem you solve, who you've done it for, and they remember they don't care about how amazing of a sales leader or rep that you are. Now, if you're a leader, what should your profile showcase? A, your messaging should speak to, can you inspire people who are interested in coming to work for you? B, do you lead by example? If you say that you've got an amazing digital sales program, are you a digital centric leader? And guess what? Every salesperson who comes to a new organization is looking for the leader that is leading from the front. So, what example are you setting through your own individual profile on Twitter or LinkedIn? C, what do others say about you? If you go to my profile, Mario Martinez Jr., you'll see about 130 some odd recommendations inside there. 130 some odd recommendations. When you see that, one of two things is going to happen. You're either a client and you're looking at it saying, look at all these amazing client testimonials, or someone's coming to work for you and they're saying, look at all these amazing things about what people say and what it's like to work for you. So the key question here is what do you want your profile to do for you? To work for you or not work for you? And then the other thing that you're also trying to showcase on your profile as a leader is your organization somewhere that they would want to work for? Are you showcasing what life is like? For example, at Vengreso, we showcase all the time what we call Vengreso Life, our Vengreso welcome receiving lines. This is when somebody new comes to the organization. Me, as the CEO of our company, I host an all-hands call for the whole company, and we all do a virtual receiving line to welcome that new person into the organization. So what is your profile showcasing to the talent that you're recruiting, showcasing what your company and culture is like to work for? And finally, is it fun? Is it fun? Do you have a great culture? That's what you should be speaking to on your particular LinkedIn profile as a leader. And this is from sales managers up through CXO. All right. Number 3, I guarantee you, if you're listening to this, if you reached out to a buyer, 72% of your buyers are looking you up. How do I know that? Because that study was recently done 7 months ago by LinkedIn, which asked buyers, what percentage of the time do you look back at a seller's profile and what do you do with it? 72% said, when the seller reaches out to me, I look back at their profile and I look to see if I should engage with them. So I promise you, they will look you up. And with that said, what will be served up? Will it be something good on Google? Will it be something that you want them to find? Will it be where you want to lead them to? And what about on LinkedIn? Does it speak to who you help, how you help, and what business problem you solve? Or does it speak to quota crushing sales rep, best contract negotiator? You decide when it comes to your personal branding. And we have various resources that can help you out for LinkedIn profile makeovers as well through vengreso.com. Now, let's talk about the third phase of finding and engaging. I call this, we want to make sure that you're looking for the big fish on the wall. What do I mean by that? Well, listen, in the old days when I used to walk into a customer's office, when we had offices and when we were out in the field, when we used to walk in, the first thing that I was trained to do was look for something on the wall, look for the picture on the desk, look for them holding the fish that they caught. If it was a man, if it's a woman, look for something that they may have that you could relate to specifically with that individual and start the conversation. And it may have gone something like this. Hey, where was that picture taken at of you holding, in this case, the fish? Or, oh, you've got kids. How many kids? So the problem with today's environment is we don't get to go into someone's office anymore, right? We don't get to meet them face to face. And even if we did, generally it's not inside their own personal offices. It's in workspaces, meeting centers, shared office or conference rooms. So with that in mind, our job is to look for the big fish on the wall when it comes to finding and engaging with buyers using their LinkedIn profile. So you want to be thinking about how to review your buyer's profile to create a personal outreach, a personal touch, that big fish on the wall, if you would. And the first thing you're going to look at is their contact information. You want to look at what schools they went to. You want to look at maybe any personal websites they may have, languages they might speak, those types of things. There's going to be things that they're very proud of, content that they may have shared, activities inside there. I've learned a lot about individuals that we've been prospecting to that may have things like Junior Achievement, as an example, which is a nonprofit organization that helps youths in the education process. They may be totally committed to those types of things. It may have on there that they're a soccer coach, a volleyball coach, whatever it might be. You're also looking to understand their experience and their accomplishments. You want to look at their experience section as you are looking to find and engage with them, to look at what have their accomplishments been. How could you use that to create an additional conversation? For example, if you were calling on a VP of sales and a VP of sales had a history, a track record that showcased year over year top performance, overachievement in quota, development of sales pipeline, curriculum design and development to be able to advance sellers, high retention rates. Those are things that you can use to bring other value-added content to the discussion with that particular sales leader. You could look at articles that are talking about how to retain talent. Since you've done this in previous roles, I thought this article might be of value to you. So you want to look at that type of information to help you engage with that particular buyer once you have found them. And finally, make sure you look at their activities and interest sections. In that activities and interest sections, you're going to find things that they are passionate about, things that matter to them, and you can use that as a way to be able to bridge the gap, to connect with that particular buyer. We also implement what's called the 3x3. What's the 3x3? That is, when our sellers go to a profile, we're looking for 3 things in 3 minutes. Now, I just went through 4 different areas of a LinkedIn profile. When you are looking at a buyer's profile, things that you can look at to create a personalized outreach, or you're looking for that big fish on the wall. Most sellers say, well, how long should that take? 3 things in 3 minutes. It should take 3 minutes, and you're looking for 3 things. You're looking at their summary, their activities and posts, and interests and languages. Those 3 areas are the first 3 areas that we look at when using the 3x3 method. And if there's nothing there, then you go to the other areas that I just mentioned in the previous slide. So inside of the activities and posts is a great area that you can look at to be able to pull in what was this person engaged on? What did they like? What did they comment about? What's important to them? What questions might they be asking to their network on assistance and help that you might be able to add value? And one of the other areas that I really love that actually gets a lot of play is languages. You bet. Languages can make a big difference. How so? Well, here's a quick little tip on finding and engaging on LinkedIn. If you see that somebody speaks an alternative language, Spanish, Russian, whatever it might be, one of the things that I've used to be able to engage with a buyer is I create my headline or my subject line of the in-mail or the email, and I go to Google Translate and translate it into that particular language. What a fine touch that makes when someone has taken the time to speak the language of that person's heart, right? Their mother tongue, generally speaking. But even if not, it's a very personalized touch to be able to leverage language. So when you're looking at someone's profile, use that little hack that allows you to be able to connect with a buyer on a personalized level. Okay, so now that is the find and engage. Now we move into, we want to teach you some tips on learning to connect. Now, learning to connect is you've got to go through the find and engage process. Once you've found them and once you've engaged with that particular buyer and you are getting some engagement back from them, now that can earn you the right to connect with them with a personalized connection message. What's the goal of a connection? Well, the first goal is to educate that individual, help that person, build a relationship with that individual. You want to also leverage it to drive sales opportunities, to leverage it to be referred or to refer somebody to that person, to help build your personal brand, by driving the connection and building up an audience that will follow your content and follow your information. And finally, to help you be found. Let me illustrate this. I literally just got off a call, which was a first time call with one of our sales teams. And that individual said to me when I asked, "How did you find us?" They said, "I reached out to these two people in the sales enablement space." And I said, "I'm looking for," and they both said, "Speak to Vengreso." And I said, "Well, who were they?" And they said, "Susie and Johnny." What was the value of connecting with Susie and Johnny? Now, one of them I haven't spoke to probably in about the last 6 months, and the other one is one of our current customers that I speak to all the time. And so with that in mind, that helped me to be found, and it also was an opportunity to be referred by leveraging and building up my relationships through social media. And that led to now a potential driving of a new sales opportunity where the end of that particular prospecting discussion or conversation that we just had said, "This was an extremely valuable conversation. You certainly educated me and you have helped me understand the right way to go through launching a digital selling program." Boom. I almost covered every single one of those boxes as a result of being connected to individuals and providing information and thought leadership out there in the marketplace. That's the goal of a connection team, is to make sure you're leveraging these connections to help you in all of these areas, which will pay dividends back to you over the course of time. So your next question might be, well, who should I connect with? First off, if we look at you right in the center, the most obvious ones are clients and prospects. Let me touch on the clients element. You really want to build up this network very strongly because we're going to get to the feed section in just a moment. But building up your network is going to help you with stage number 5. Building up your network will help you with being referred or building relationships to get a referral. Most of us look at connecting with clients with just our single buyer. Most of us forget to go 2 levels up, 2 levels to the side, and 2 levels down. You want to make sure that you're connecting with your clients in such a way that allows you to be able to be well connected inside that organization and develop an approach that allows you to work with all the buying influencers. That's key. The same goes for prospects as well. Connect up, connect down, go to the side. Example, the prospecting call that I just mentioned that I was on. Well, in that call, we understood who was the head of sales, who was the head of customer experience, who was the CEO, who was the financial buyer. So what's my next step? My next step is to reach out and begin engaging with those particular prospects and lead it to a connection and let them know, hey, I met with Johnny, with Susie, and we're in a conversation, and thanks so much for engaging with us. And I'd love to provide some value-added content. Or I might say something effective. We're going to be meeting in the coming days or weeks to talk about whatever it might be. So these are the types of things you want to make sure you're doing, and you're going up, down, and around inside an organization. In addition, you want to be connecting with your colleagues within the organization, all your vendors and your partners. Again, the idea here is when you connect with people, having people that are in the same industry, your colleagues, your vendors, your partners, will allow you to be able to develop the skill of amplification of your content, which we'll get to in just a second. And that will allow you to be able to have their network see your content when they like and engage with your particular content. So build that network up of colleagues, vendors, and partners. You also got people from your alumni. I went to Cal, Berkeley, UC Berkeley, and recently a motivational speaker who I was familiar with their particular work because of this particular individual's story of being a quadriplegic, doing motivational talk, reached out to me and said, hey, fellow bear, I wanted to reach out to have a conversation. And I took that connection, and now that's leading to a whole nother thing, which is bringing them onto my podcast as an example. So make sure you connect with those that are your alumni, your work, your school. And make sure you connect with those who are in a position to give you referrals. So if they introduce you to somebody, somebody introduces you to somebody else, make sure you're connecting with those people as well. Of course, there's friends and family, and then those who you network with both online and offline. In fact, in the old days when I used to attend networking sessions at live conferences, I never brought a business card. As a matter of fact, I would just walk around with my LinkedIn application open and connect with them live there online through LinkedIn as I was meeting people who are like me and or who are potential target buyers. So make sure that you're networking. If you're going to online networking events, connect with the speakers, connect with the individuals that might be there that you're networking with. Use those as resources. So who should I connect with on LinkedIn? There you have it. You have a complete list of individuals that you should connect with on LinkedIn to help build your network up. Why? Well, one of the reasons why that you want to be able to build this connection up is because of the feed section that we're going to get to. That network will allow you to be able to amplify your content and your personal brand. But how do you make that easier? Well, you can make that a heck of a lot easier by using a free tool called flymessage.io. It is a sales productivity and sales messaging tool. And guess what? Inside of that tool, we have what's called a fly plate. And a fly plate you can add to your shortcuts or fly cuts, which will allow you to connect with individuals much easier with just a few short keystrokes. So connecting will allow you to be able to build that network. But how do you connect? Well, there are some great scripts that we have for connecting with buyers using flymessage.io. And if for some reason you can't get to it, just go to vengreso.com, and right at the top under at vengreso.com is the fly message menu item. Click on that and you're there. But my point here is that many of you are looking for connection types of scripts. Well, we have a phenomenal article on on vengreso.com talking about how to connect on LinkedIn. I just showed you some things here, but some of those scripts are here on flymessage.io, and it's free. You'll love the tool. So go ahead and download that particular tool. Now, let's get to feed your network. Feeding your network is an art and it's a craft, and it's something that I truly enjoy doing in terms of building up my network and getting people to engage. And I strongly urge you to really think about how you're developing, finding and engaging and connecting before you start pushing out content into your network. And the reason for that is because you want to make sure that you have the right types of buyers in your network that are going to see the content that you are pushing out. So, what is content for sales? Now, you're not a content marketer, and I don't want you to be a content marketer, and I don't want your sellers to be content marketers. But I want you to understand that you're looking for content for sales people to use. So it's really the ongoing practice of publishing and distributing relevant content that drives people closer to a purchase decision. So when you're looking at what's the type of content that I should be pushing out to my network, you want to be thinking about relevant content that is going to help your buyer along the way with ultimately getting to a purchase decision. All right. So that's what you'll be thinking about, is taking that content and figuring out, is this for the awareness phase? Is it for the consideration phase? Is it for the purchasing phase? In all cases, if it's for any one of the three and you've got buyers inside your network, that's content for sales. Don't just push out Forbes content, Inc. content, entrepreneur content for the sake of pushing out content. Yes, include that in your content sharing, but no, don't only do that. Bring valuable content that moves the buyer towards a purchasing decision. You want to make sure that that content is educational, that it's inspirational, and that it entertains. And that will, of course, allow you to be able to build your target audience. One of the things I love doing is when I share content is that Johnny, Billy, Susie, Mary, and everybody else in between is engaging with that content. As soon as they engage with that content, guess what? my post now ends up in their newsfeed, which their network is able to see as well. So that's the power of amplification. So build that audience and get those referrals. In fact, another story. 2 weeks ago, right at the end of 2020, I received a LinkedIn connection request. And it was somebody who was sending somebody to me for some assistance and help. I took the meeting, took the call. Turns out the person that referred them is an individual that I have been connected to for 3 years, a CRO at a well-known organization who, by the way, I have actually only spoken to through social engagement. Never have I met with this person or spoke to them or even shaken their hand face to face or through a live video call. And he referred this particular executive to me to host a conversation saying, this is your guy and company that can help you and where you want to go. That's what I'm talking about in terms of building audience. So make sure your content is educating, inspiring, and entertaining so that others know who you are, even if you're not meeting with them. So what's your goal with content? When you're thinking about sharing content, your goal is to influence your network to do something. It should help them also engage with your content. So it should ask questions when you're writing your posts to get them to engage. You should be educating them on the process, the problem that you may solve, or problems that you may solve. In addition to that, it should help them along the buyer's journey. It should also drive conversations. So you should have thought-provoking, insightful conversations that are taking place on LinkedIn or on Twitter, as an example, that will drive your buyer to connect with you or look at your profile or engage back with you. Number 5, it should also increase your referrals. I gave you a story already of how just sharing content over the course of 3 years has put me in a position where a CRO at a very well-known company referred a potential buyer prospect to me. And that was without ever even talking to that individual. And it should also help you build your personal brand. So as an example, on our team, we have an individual who was a professional skateboarder. And he's no longer doing professional skateboarding, but he has his own individual company that he sells skateboard products. We love that. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. And guess what he does? He pushes out content related to some of his passions, building his personal brand and his personal dream. And finally, you want to multi-thread. So what does that mean? Well, that's going to be multi-threading within an organization. Your goal with content is to influence your network, but it's also, as you begin to look at content by pushing out into one-to-many environment, you could also use it in a one-to-one environment. And that's what multi-threading is. It allows you to look at who's your buying influencers or your buying committee and actually push out content through one-to-one email communication, LinkedIn messaging, or one-to-one social engagement to help that particular level up from your particular buyer, level two levels up, or to the side or down, to allow you to multi-thread in a non-confrontational way. Content allows you to reach your buyers where you otherwise thought you wouldn't be able to reach. That's the goal of content. And there are some great tools that are out there to allow you to share content free, as well as if you're part of our Selling with LinkedIn or Sales Navigator Teams program, we cover all those things for you and helping you to implement tools and technology for your sellers to be able to essentially push out content on the regular through one-to-many, social, and we teach you how to do this on a one-to-one basis. So that's really the goal, is to influence your network, and then these 7 components make up how to influence your network. All right, now we get to the cadence part, the 6th and final step of learning how to sell with LinkedIn. Couple things I want you thinking about. Here's how I would segment my time on a daily basis, by using a very important channel in the omni-channel approach to prospecting. You heard me talk about that on the last episode. So what should you do? 30 minutes in the morning, you're going to be responding. 30 minutes in the afternoon, lunchtime, 1 o'clock. Be proactive. reach out, engage. 30 minutes in the late afternoon, set yourself up for the next morning. Do your research, prepare your prospecting list, prepare your bullet points of what you're going to be talking about during that particular session late in the afternoon. Don't prep in the morning primetime hours. Don't do that. Save your primetime hours for research and preparation for the next day's prospecting in the late afternoon. Generally, I try to do that at my 5 to 7 o'clock hour if I'm going to be working that particular late. So try to get that in the late afternoon, whether you're doing it at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. Definitely make sure you save that element to late afternoon. What do? Well, here you go. Here's your cadence right here. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This is what our sellers are doing, and it's driving success. Number one, in the morning, you're going to check who's viewed your profile. Check and accept pending open invitations. Welcome your new connections by sending them a welcome message. Check and respond to messages or in-mails. Check your notifications and engage with individuals. In the afternoon, what do? Engage on your newsfeed, the LinkedIn newsfeed. Like, comment, and mention. Find relevant leads, your top prospects. Follow them. Once you found them, send connection requests for future appointments. Check on your notifications and engage. Send a LinkedIn voice message. Did you know that you have the ability to do that? That's right. You have the ability to do that. And if you want a resource on that, definitely go to vengreso.com and just type in LinkedIn voice message. And there's some phenomenal articles that we have that will show you what you can do and how you do that. And then finally in the evening, set yourself up. Find some content that you can share for the next day. Ask for introductions. Connect with every buyer that you met with face-to-face or online through events, etc. And then check your notifications and engage. Do your research there. Do your research there in the evening time. All right. And what does that lead us to? Well, if you want help on all of these different elements in terms of different types of scripts, and you want to be able to figure out, how do I connect? What do I say if I want to do a cold prospecting outreach message? What do I say if I want to wish somebody an anniversary? How do I turn those trigger events into actual conversations? Well, I talked about this earlier. Go to flymessage.io or vengreso.com and click on the Fly Message navigation bar. And there you will be able to download a free tool. Inside there, we've got 22 different sales scripts that you can use in the connection process, in the cold outreach process, or when someone's got a trigger event, a work anniversary, a new job promotion, any of those types of things. We've got trigger events that will allow you to be able to connect and immediately send those messages off to create engagement. And if you want more, well, we also have another 50 more scripts that we have as part of our Selling with LinkedIn program. And we have that for individuals. You can purchase it on demand, as well as we have a whole entire teams program. So use the free tools, start having fun with it. You're going to have a blast with it. And hey, don't forget, please leave us a review on Google Chrome or on Product Hunt. We would certainly appreciate that. We love Fly Message, and we know you will too. And the premium version will be coming out very shortly that will allow you to do some really cool things like engage one-on-one with your templates that you create for messaging through LinkedIn. All right. That brings us to a close. I've got about 5 minutes for Q&A here. So if you have any questions, make sure you reach out to info@vengreso.com. That's info@vengreso.com. I'm Mario Martinez, and now you can go ahead and ask a question. And I'm going to go into the question box. We've got a couple of them here. How can I find the people on top and under of the prospect I want to engage with? Hey, great question. So someone asked the question, and what they're referring to is I said, go 2 levels up, go 2 levels down, and go 2 levels to the side. You have to know the answer to that question is, how do you find them? You have to know who your buyer persona is. Let me give you an example. Let's just say someone has inquired of you, and their role is sales enablement manager. They've brought in an inbound lead. You now are talking to them, and you now want to be able to go up a couple levels. Well, you can certainly look for that title, VP of Sales Enablement or VP of Sales, because oftentimes sales enablement reports to the sales leader, but also it might report to its own channel, the VP of Sales Enablement. In all cases, you want to start looking for those titles that would generally be the levels up and generally be the levels down. You also want to be thinking about maybe there are individuals, if you can't find those there, maybe it's a smaller company and someone may have the role of sales enablement and operations. So you're going to expand out your title search inside of LinkedIn to be able to use those particular titles. So know your buyer persona and understand those particular titles and search them on LinkedIn. Also, if you have LinkedIn Sales Navigator, it's super easy because they do give you recommendations on someone's profile of who else you might want to engage with. For deeper strategies on that, you certainly can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We give out lots of free content on the YouTube channel, so I would encourage you to subscribe there. But we also have our Selling with LinkedIn program, and we go through 8 hours of on-demand there, and it's a whole 3-month-long training program for our corporate teams, customers. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, another question that has come in is if someone actually has looked at my profile, when is the right time to connect with them? Hey, great question. So the answer to that question is that is what we call a trigger event. They've come to your profile, which means they've knocked at your door. They've rang your doorbell. And in that situation, when they've looked at your profile, that absolutely gives you the right to be able to go ahead and engage with that particular buyer and connect with them. So that's a great question. Well, those are all the questions that I have time for. I'm super thankful that you joined me today on this Modern Sales Mastery Show. Don't forget, and don't turn that dial, because I've got this important video for you right here.